Hi guys, because of a failure in the recording of the second hour of our lecture, I'm doing two very short recordings, 15 minutes each, just to run you through the information. In this first recording, what I'm going to do is take you through Blackboard and show you our online environment, just to make sure that you can access all of the assessment information and all of the weekly notices that we send out. In the second recording, I'll go through these lecture slides and just explain what was discussed in the last part of our lecture. So from the QUT homepage, I'm going to have to use the staff entrance, but you'd use the student entrance instead. I need you to access Blackboard. QUT Blackboard is an online learning environment. It's basically the space that we use at QUT to deliver all of the curriculum, all of the online recordings, and we also use it actually to submit assessment and sometimes to retrieve your grades from. Okay, so in the edit mode off, this is what your page should look like. There's a couple of welcome things. There is a lecture recordings link. At the moment, that's just got the first half. I'm going to dump, once I'm finished these recordings, I'll dump them there as well so that you can get the rest of the information. In here, there is, after that welcome message, there is our map for the units. What I need you to do in the first case is to read the material in the week 1 to 4 section. If you do keep scrolling down though, you'll find course materials database, a getting help section, and our space for weekly online consultations. These links will make a little bit more sense in a moment when I explain them. The course material database is actually where you get most of your readings from, and this will be the case for a lot of subjects that don't have textbooks or ones that require extra readings. So after you click on course materials database, you click on course materials for this unit. A small window will pop up. It looks like this, and it has each of your readings in here. Some, for whatever reason, have been posted by the library twice, and I apologise for that. It looks a little bit messier than it should, but we'll just have to deal with that. Okay, so I have to request them remotely, but they're not put on by me, so let me know if there's any problems with any of the files. So that's how you get the rest of the readings that I might refer to. Let's go back to the Learning Resources page. Scrolling down, the Getting Help section just has a lot of different tips for different resources that you can use on campus, including our free counselling service. Back to the Learning Resources section again, just scrolling down, and this weekly online consultations. If, like a couple of our students, you're not able to get onto campus for my consultations, 11:30 to 12 noon each Monday of semester, except week 5 and 13, I'll be in an online room here. So week 1 has already elapsed, but I'll click on week 2 and just show you. It won't let me go very far. When you're ready to join that room, and it only opens 15 minutes before we start, you click launch there. The one thing we mentioned in the lecture about Blackboard Collaborate is that, and it'll tell me the earliest I can join is 11:15. The one thing to remember is that Blackboard Collaborate will ask you quite a few times whether you really want to run the file, whether you want to join the session, whether you're happy to accept. Just keep clicking in the affirmative. And you'll finally get through the room. If you are using Chrome, like most downloads, you'll find that right down the bottom here it will give you a download file that you have to open. Any other tips that you need for Blackboard Collaborate, there is a link here, and it takes you to our e-learning services staff page, or pages written by the staff. It actually shows you all you need to know about Blackboard Collaborate and gives you lots of demonstrations about how to get into the room. Once you get there, I can help you with all of the tools. It's not very difficult. The most important things are to make sure you've got a headset, headphones or speakers so that you can hear my voice, and you've also got either a microphone or you're willing to sit there and type out your questions. You can participate either way. I don't mind typing or speaking on the microphones. Okay. Back to the Learning Resources page again. I want to show you in this Getting Started Week 1, if you click in there, you will get into our modules. Week 1, 2, 3 and 4 will be stored here. Under the lecture notes, I have a file for you. It's the document that I really need you to read before next week so that you've got all of the information for our assessment. It opens into a Word file. It also has in it, if I open it here in Chrome, this is how Chrome opens our documents. See that little download that I mentioned before? It also has our weekly planner. So I'll show you what that looks like once the Word document opens. Okay, so here we are in the Word document. It's got all of my contact details. It's got reminders about the consultations. It does have a lot of policy that I would request you to read through. I'm not going to read all of that in class. It's your responsibility to read. We then have the class program. It tells you the topics of the lectures each week, highlights that there is a mid-semester break with 0 classes held during that time. It shows you when some of your assessment is due, and the second recording will be much more about the assessment, but it's helpful for you to know and have those dates in your diary. In the second half of semester we have a lot more online classes, so you see these lectures here are online, this tutorial is online, these ones go back to face-to-face classes. Make sure that you have a good read through all of that documentation and you make notes in your diary. This document also has some information about your assessment, and so each assessment piece is described. I'm going to talk about it in these guys in the second recording for you. The word counts are provided, and I also let you know that there is a 10% leeway on some word counts, so I have provided that guidance for you there. I also describe for each assessment piece how you'll get support and feedback. So make sure you go through this document, you read about each of these pieces of assessment, because it's really important that you're up to date with all of the information. So that's the first thing that you need to be aware of for week 1. I do also have a survey here which I'd love you to fill out if you're willing. It is a piece of research, but it also helps me understand your expectations for the class and what you're hoping to do within the degree. Then I also, for each week, I have listed a website of the week. This week's one is QUT Studywell. It's developed by our library, and it includes a lot of information about how to get study support at QUT. The task for this week, there's quite a few tasks. I've listed 4 of them here. One is to read through the FAQs. I'll show you that in a second. One is to print the CRA sheets under assessment. One is to read these attached brochures. They are about a couple of different Faculty of Health initiatives. And the final one is to do the professional pathway presentation. I'll just download that file and show you it quickly. The screen resolution is a little bit off here, but it will work on your computer. I'm just recording a smaller space than my normal screen. This is the professional pathways unit. It has a map of the different degrees and qualifications that flow from your initial undergraduate degree or equivalent. You can click on each of these boxes, so please go through and explore what this module has. It has a lot of information for you, and I'm going to sort of test you on that next week, so it is one of your tasks for this first week to work through those professional pathways. The final thing that you might want to have a look at in our week 1 materials is a quiz. You just click here to launch, and it has instructions and it will let you sit the test. It's a little bit of fun for this week. It's not very serious because it's only week 1, just to show you how to use it. If you have any trouble with any of the files in this first week, I would suggest trying it on the QUT computer as well. Or the other option, if you are really struggling, is to contact the QUT Computing Help Desk. They are for staff and for students, and unfortunately a lot of things in this environment are managed by them, so they're a really good group to contact if something isn't working for you. Alright, so back to the learning resources. You can see once you have your program for the weeks, you'll know which subject to click into after week 4. We have a Tying It Together week scheduled for week 13, where I'll summarise what we've been covering and potentially answer questions about one of the pieces of assessment that's still due in week 13. The final place I want to really show you before we get into anything else is the FAQs page. So this FAQ page, I've put down a couple of questions that we typically get asked by students in this subject, and our answers to them. If you'd like to add a new question, you can click on this link at the top, and by either commenting or adding a contribution, you can add any other question that you would like to ask. It's really great to use this space if your question is quite broad, it's about pieces of assessment or lectures, and it would be useful for other students to hear the answer. Of course, you're always welcome to use the email address instead if your question is more personal or relates to more private circumstances. Okay, so from there, that's mostly what you need to be looking at on the Learning Resources page this week. The unit details for our subject will just link you back to the week 1 notes, because that was our lecture notes for this week, so there's not a whole lot to look at here. It does outline again my consultation times, just for you if you need them again. The Contact Us page is quite simple as well. It has email, my location, my phone number, again my consultation times for you, and it has a little bit of a note here that I'm not able to respond to most emails on Tuesdays or on weekends, and so I'd really ask you to respect that one. The last thing that we'll probably look at today, and it's really important, is the assessment page. So in here we have one folder for each of the pieces of assessment that you'll submit in this subject. There are also a couple of generic links down here, the QUT Site Right Guide and the Assignment Minder page. So Assignment Minder is an online method of submission, and I'm going to talk about that in the second recording a little bit more, but that's a link to their web page. So I'll just talk about the assignments in particular first. The Reflections is the first assignment, it's due in week 5. The CRA sheet, if you weren't in the lecture, the CRA sheet is basically our marking sheets at QUT. So again, it's going to open a little bit big because it is a Word document. Okay, so I'll just open this one. I won't open them for every single assignment, but you do need to open each of your CRAs and have a look at how you're going to be marked. Download it, have a good read. The weighting is up here, the word count. References are outside of that word count, so the reference list. In-text references are counted in your word count. That will make more sense as we go through some of the academic literacy material. You need to read through each of these areas. As at QUT, we mark on a 7-point scale, 1 to 7, and in this I've given you a numerical marking guide underneath that standard just so that you can link it to the 5-point marks. A standard of 4 is considered a pass mark, so it's kind of hard. The middle of the page is not the passing grade, the standard of 4 is the passing mark. Have a look through these, download each one, and have a read through the requirements for passing and for getting a 7, which is our highest score. The other thing that you'll notice in each of the assessment folders is that there is a Submit Your Reflection here. So this is the online submission that I was talking about. So remember, there's 2 different ways that your assessment gets submitted: electronically via these particular links in each assessment folder, and also via a paper copy to Assignment Minder. Assignment Minder at Kelvin Grove is located in the library. You can find more about Assignment Minder and their requirements for submission on their website. Please make sure that you submit a Word document or a word processor document to this electronic link, not a PDF, otherwise I'll reject it and I'll have to ask you to submit again. When you click View on Complete, you'll get a space where you can upload the file. Make sure you click on all the Accept, Submit, Ready, all the buttons before you finish up and before you close down, because there are quite a few confirmation buttons to press in that process. Okay, so back to the assessment page. The group multimedia presentation CRA does have a little bit more information in it, so do make sure that you download that one. It doesn't have a submission link because you're going to give all your documentation to your tutor. I'll explain more about these pieces of assessment in our second recording. I have gone through this quite quickly, but please remember that if you have any questions at any time or you haven't quite caught something, just pause the recording and go back. Pause the recording to make any notes. You're welcome to do that. Do post in the FAQ section if you do have any questions about anything that I've said in this particular recording. Hopefully I'll see all of you safe and dry in next week's lecture. I'm looking forward to it.